Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IS. In our today's video, we'll try to understand what was this judgment of Supreme Court in the month of November that led to Aravalli protest. So why is Aravalli so important as far as our environment and ecology is concerned? Why or what was the decision of Supreme Court that led to the protest, and what can be done in the future that was also told by the Supreme Court in order to protect Aravallis? That is the subject of our today's discussion. Now, the notes that I will be using in our today's session, you can go to this Telegram channel ETS Live and download them. And while you're at it downloading this notes, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel also. Now, if you realize, or if you're a space traveler few billion years back, about 3 billion years back, and if you were to arrive in a northern part of our country, which is present North India, the only distinguishable geographical feature you'll find out 3 billion years back would be the Aravalli, because it is that older mountain range. Now in 2025, Aravalli is back in national debate. If you'll realize, there are hashtags like Save Aravalli, Save AQI that are trending on the social media platforms. And this is because of a judgment of the Supreme Court that has made people believe that irreversible ecological damage will happen to Aravalli. So what is this Supreme Court judgment? Why is protecting Aravalli so important for our environment and ecology? That will be the subject of our today's discussion. Let us first start our today's discussion by understanding the geographical location of the mountain ranges, that is Aravalli. If you realize, Aravalli is located in the northwest part in our country. In the northwest part, it stretches from Gujarat and ends up till the New Delhi Ridge area in the Union Capital Territory of Delhi, right? So Aravalli, it is one of the world's oldest fold mountain ranges which originated in the pre-Cambrian era. In terms of its length, it stretches about 690 kilometers long, and it goes through 4 states and union territories in India: the state of Gujarat, Rajasthan and Haryana, and the National Capital Territory of Delhi, because it originates from Palanpur in Gujarat and ends in the New Delhi Ridge area. Now, where is New Delhi Ridge area? Just basically bordering the Rashtrapati Bhavan, there is a forest area, that is the New Delhi Ridge area, and it is the end point of Aravalli ranges. Okay. Now, the highest peak in the Aravalli mountain ranges is Guru Shikhar, which is located near Mount Abu. And in terms of the kind of rocks that makes up the Aravalli, it is the igneous as well as metamorphic rocks like gneiss, schist, quartzite and marble that are making up the Aravalli mountain ranges. Now, what is the significance of Aravalli, or why is Aravalli so important? We need to understand that as well. First, Aravalli itself acts as a barrier to desertification of the northwest part of our country, particularly the Indo-Gangetic belt, because Aravalli acts as a natural ecological barrier which prevents the eastward movement of the Thar desert. So in a way, it protects states like Haryana, eastern Rajasthan, western Uttar Pradesh and the entire Indo-Gangetic plains from turning into an arid desert. Similarly, it also acts as a climate stabilization and air quality enhancement tool. For example, when there is a geographical barrier in the northwestern part of our country, it reduces the dust storms to arrive in the central part of our country. Similarly, it limits the heat extremes that we witness in the deserts like Thar. So what is going to happen is the degradation of the Aravalli that we are witnessing right now. It is the primary reason why the air quality index, particularly of the Delhi NCR region, is worsening, because with the degradation of the Aravalli mountain ranges, the dust, the air from the Thar desert, it is now arriving in the Indo-Gangetic plain where the Delhi NCR region is located. Similarly, if you realize, Aravalli ranges also helps in groundwater recharges. Now, the rock system of Aravalli ranges, it is fractured rock system, and the slopes are forested. So what this fractured rock system and the forested slopes do, that they help in groundwater recharge. Now, if the slopes forest would reduce, it is because of the excessive quarrying that has led to that, and it has plummeted or reduced the groundwater levels, and it directly impacts the agriculture as well as drinking water availability in the northern part of our country. Similarly, this range, it directly supports origin of many rivers. So rivers like Sabarmati, Chambal, Luni, all of them which flows through, or Chambal is a tributary of Yamuna, and Sabarmati and Luni, they drain the state of Gujarat, right? So these rivers, they sustain the ecosystem, farming and settlement across multiple states in India. And if something were to happen to Aravalli, naturally the water flowing through these rivers would be affected because they originate in the Aravalli mountain ranges. Not just this, if you realize, Aravalli is also a very important biodiversity support system because it connects the ecologically between western and northern India, and it also provides you an economic resources. That is, it provides you a solid mineral and resource basis. So for example, important minerals like sandstone, limestone, marble, granite, which are used in construction, as well as other important metals like zinc and copper, which are very important socio-economic wise, all of this originate in Aravalli. So if Aravalli's resources were to degraded, it would provide or it would negatively impact livelihood and construction material availability in our country. So this is why Aravalli is important. Now let us understand, why is protecting Aravalli so much needed? First of all, you have to realize the cost of excessive mining. If mining happens in the mountain ranges, it is okay. But if this mining activities goes out of hand, or if it becomes unregulated and illegal, naturally the amount of mining would be quite intensive. And this in Aravalli has destroyed the hill structure. This has reduced the availability of groundwater, and this has even increased the dust pollution in the regions of Delhi NCR, as I just told you. And it also has left large tracts of ecology degraded. So this in a way has reduced the availability of biodiversity in the region. It has reduced the support system that Aravalli provides to our agricultural system, to our industrial activity, as well as to construction activities. So this is the reason number one why protection of Aravalli is needed. Now let us understand the reason number two. If you can recall your environment lectures, you'll realize India is a signatory to UN Convention of Combat of Desertification, UNCCD. So when you are a signatory, you should do everything to protect vulnerable ecosystems, one of which is Aravalli. And this is not just a domestic necessity, but it is also important as we have made an international environmental commitment. So this is the reason number two why protection of Aravalli is needed. First is a socio-economic and ecological reason, and second is our diplomatic reason. Now let us understand what have been the regulatory steps that have been taken by various organs of the government in order to prevent the destruction of Aravalli, right? First is early 1990 onwards, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, it only allowed mining which was available in sanctioned project, and it prevented newer minings. But you can understand the enforcement of this regulation has been not so good, and that is why it led to widespread violations, particularly by illegal mining activities. Similarly, in 2009, our apex court intervened and it banned mining activities in the region of Faridabad, Gurugram as well as Mewat after finding the scale of large scale or the scale of illegal mining. Similarly, last year in 2024, Supreme Court prohibited issue of fresh mining leases and renewal of existing leases, and it asked a central empowered committee to conduct detailed examination. Now, what was the recommendation of the Central Empowered Committee? We'll come to it, but first let us understand what happened last month. Now, the problem in front of the Supreme Court was that multiple states in India like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Haryana as well as NCT Delhi, they have followed an inconsistent criteria to identify what formation actually is Aravalli. So what used to happen that expert bodies, when they differed on a particular definition, it created administrative problems, it created enforcement gaps. So as to fill this gap, what Supreme Court did, it asked multiple organizations, one of which was Forest Survey of India, to come up with a definition of what would be Aravalli. Now in 2010, the Forest Survey of India came up with a very complex definition. It said Aravalli would be anything that has slope of 3 degrees, 100 meter of foothill buffer, or at least 500 meter of inter-hill distances. Now, when you provide a definition of a multiple criteria, it creates even more confusion. So as to deal with this confusion or to make this confusion go away, Supreme Court in 2025 crafted a scientifically grounded and a nationwide definition, and the responsibility of which was given to a separate committee formed by Supreme Court. In this committee, representatives from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Forest Survey of India, State Forest Departments of these states, Geological Survey of India and the CEC, the Central Empowered Committee, all of their representatives were represented in this committee. Now, this committee came up with a definition in October 2025. It stated that only those hills who have the height of at least 100 meters or above, they would be qualified to call as Aravalli Hills. So this is the subject of the protests that are going on right now in the country. That the definition which has been fixed by this committee that says only those hills which are at least 100 meters or above, they will only be categorized as Aravalli. So the first problem that was filed in this regard was an amicus curiae petition by K. Parameshwar. He said that this cutoff of just 100 meter and above hills to be called as Aravalli would open the hills which are less than 100 meters to mining activities, and it would lead to an ecological havoc, because total Aravalli ranges, 90% of this range would qualify or would not be qualified to be called as Aravalli. So when mining activities will be permitted in this region, it would lead to irreversible ecological damage. It will accelerate the process of desertification, and it will cripple the groundwater recharge which happens due to the presence of Aravalli mountain ranges. And overall, it is a bad news for the region's biodiversity. So this is the reason for protest, because they have come up with an exclusive definition, and this definition excludes 90% of the total mountain ranges to be regulated for mining activities. Now, there is a counter view also, and this counter view came from Additional Solicitor General. She said that the slope buffer based definition, which was proposed by FSI, which included multiple criterias, was a bit exclusive, and the right now criteria which has been submitted by the Supreme Court committee, that is the 100 meter plus criteria, is better. Why? Because this 100 meter criteria includes those regions which have been excluded if we had followed the FSI definition, which I told you was much more complex. Now, I told you, right, CEC, a central empowered committee, gave certain recommendations. So let us follow those recommendations, because these recommendations was accepted by the Supreme Court in their last month judgment, right? Now, this CEC, it came up with a solution that we would conduct a comprehensive scientific mapping across all states where the Aravalli mountain ranges fall. And not just this, a macro level environment impact assessment would also be conducted so as to assess the amount of cumulative damage that the mining activities have done to the Aravalli ranges. And no new mining leases would be given, or no new renewals will be given until or unless we have these two reports simultaneously. And at that time, we will also ensure that a stringent regulation of stone crushing units would be done in our country. Not just this, the Central Empowered Committee also said certain areas would be where the mining activities will be prohibited. These areas include protected habitats and wildlife corridors, water bodies, key aquifer recharge zones, as well as the areas which fall within the National Capital Region. So these are the areas where mining activities would be prohibited. And as I told you, in the last month judgment, the Supreme Court accepted and operationalized the Central Empowered Committee recommendation. In addition to that, the judgment of the Supreme Court, where the controversy was created, it also gave certain nice things. If you have to realize, Supreme Court directed preparation of management plan for sustainable mining activities, which covers the entire Aravalli ranges. It says we need to map sensitive habitats, wildlife corridors, aquifer recharges, and we have to identify certain areas where mining activities are not permitted, and certain areas where mining activities would be permitted, but they will be severely or very highly regulated. And it also ordered to assess the cumulative ecological impact and carrying assessment activities damage. And it also lays down how to restore and rehabilitate the Aravalli mountain ranges. So not everything is bad about the Supreme Court decision. This is what I wanted to tell you in our today's session. Now, if you can realize, the Supreme Court did not prohibit mining in the entire Aravalli ranges. It said certain areas are where we would prohibit mining, certain areas are where we would allow mining, but in a regulated manner. So why has Supreme Court not prohibited mining at all? Now, Supreme Court said that our past experiences show that if we prohibit mining entirely in the Aravalli ranges, it would give rise to illegal mining syndicates, because law and order is not the strongest forte India is known for. So violent sand mafias, unregulated extractions of minerals would happen in Aravalli if the government or the Supreme Court were to completely prohibit mining activities in Aravalli. So in this regard, Supreme Court came up with a solution which you can say is a middle path. It is a way forward or a calibrated approach. Supreme Court stated that the existing legal mining, it would continue under tight regulation, right? So existing mining regulation or existing mining activities would go on. But new mining would be paused until or unless a scientifically driven plan, ecological environment assessment is not provided to the Supreme Court. And in any case, the sensitive areas would permanently remain off limits for mining activities. So this is how Supreme Court has tried to draw a line. It has permitted development, but it has also ensured that the ecology is taken care of. And this is what sustainable development is all about. So whenever you are going to go in bureaucracy, you have to ensure one thing, that you have to take care of both of the arguments and you have to find a middle path, just like what Supreme Court did in just judgment. Okay, so I hope I've explained you why the protests are happening. People are not wrong in this regard. If we exclude 90% of the area of Aravalli, naturally it is going to damage us ecologically. But in the meantime, we also have to ensure that the minerals that are present in the Aravalli region can be sustainably harnessed so that the damages to the ecology is minimized and the gains to the people are maximized. Okay. Now, before solving a practice question that I've curated exactly on the UPSC pattern, there are a few important announcements that I need to make. Suppose if you're preparing for UPSC exam, environment is one of the important subjects, and environment you have to study along with the geography because these two subjects in a way are interlinked. Similar interlinkages are also provided in other subjects, but if you take admission in resolution plus batches, you don't have to do the interlinkages. We will do it for you in live classes, recorded lectures. You'd be given notes which would be quite comprehensive. All of these benefits are exclusively available for students who are looking to take admissions in UPSC exam, provided if you use the code ATS Live, you'll get maximum discounts. And on 25th of December, if you're going to take the admission, you'll get an assured gift in addition to 50% off, which will be available on all the courses, right? These resolution plus batches are available separately for 2027 and 2028. Choose accordingly. Do not forget, if you have to thrive, you can use the code ATS Live. Now, this is the question that I want each and every one of you to solve with reference to Aravalli ranges, and this question can be solved easily just because of our today's discussion. Do let me know the correct answers in the comment section. The ones who get it right would get a thumbs up from my side, and I also want your opinion. What is your opinion about the Supreme Court judgment, the bare bones of which I told you in our today's session? Please go through the slides and tell me what your informed opinion about this issue is. Should we allow mining in the Aravallis or should we completely prohibit mining activities in Aravalli? I want your comments in the comment section, and to download the notes, this is where you need to go, the channel called as ATS Live. So this is all from my side for today. We'll see each other again tomorrow. Please have a very good night.